2.
Good evening and welcome to the Smyrna Town Council meeting. We will move right into our agenda and I'll call this meeting to order. I'm going to ask Chaplain Warren from the Smyrna Police Department to do our prayer, and our pledge will be done by Bill Coverson, our fire chief. Chaplain, if you'll come forward. If you'll stand with me, please.
Good afternoon. Let us bow together in a word of prayer. Our Father, our Lord and Savior, we give thanks unto you for the blessings that you have blessed in our lives today. We find ourselves grateful for your mercy and your grace, and we ask blessings over the council tonight as they discuss the business of the city of Smyrna. Father, grant them wisdom and give them understanding that this city of Smyrna will be a light, a beacon of light that others may look to as an example to follow. And we give you thanks, honor, and glory, and we thank you for the blessings again of this day. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Face the flag, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Chaplain. Thank you, Chief. Miss Diane, if you'll do roll call, please.
Councilman Cole,
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman Morrell,
Here.
Councilwoman Peebles,
Here.
Councilman Sullivan,
Here.
Vice Mayor Atkins,
Here.
Mayor Reed.
Here. We will now move on to approval or correction of the minutes of the May 8th, May 9th, and May 31st, 2018 meetings. Are there any additions or corrections to be made? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve?
I move we approve.
A motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Any correspondence or communications?
First, I want to recognize Tom Rose, Lee Purnell, Pro Hal Laughlin, Mike Moss. I called on them last week to kind of tidy up the town with respect to the memorial, and they did a remarkable job. So, knuckles to those guys. Also, as most of you are aware, it was kind of touch and go whether Jeff Coose's wife and his brother would get in here because of some flight issues. Flew into Huntsville, Alabama, and I called Mike Hollinshead at 1 o'clock and asked if he could pick them up because we couldn't get them here. And Hollinshead Aviation set a plane down to pick them up and bring them up here, and they got here somewhere around 4 o'clock and were able to make all the events. So thanks to Mike and Hollinshead's Aviation. That's it.
Okay. Awards and recognitions. Today we have a proclamation for Independence Week. Miss Diane, would you read our proclamation?
Whereas Independence Week provides a time to celebrate the independence of the members of the community of Smyrna and the entrepreneurial spirit represented by the Smyrna Independent Merchants Association, known as SIMA. And whereas the individual decisions every community member makes today affect the future of Smyrna. And whereas Smyrna's local independent businesses help preserve the uniqueness of the community and give us a sense of place. And whereas Smyrna's core of independently owned businesses give back to this community in goods, services, time, and talent. And whereas the health of Smyrna's economy depends on our support of businesses owned by our friends and neighbors. And now, therefore, I, Mary Esther Reed, Mayor of the Town of Smyrna, do hereby proclaim the week of July 1st through the 7th, 2018 as Independence Week and salute our community members and locally owned independent businesses who are integral to the unique flavor of Smyrna and honor their efforts to make Smyrna the place we want to live and work. Proclaimed this 12th day of June, 2018.
Thank you, Miss Diane. I think you hear us talk often about shop local, shop local, shop local. And not only these are the individuals who are sponsoring the ball teams, who are helping the schools, all of the things that we're asked for as small businesses on a daily basis, they're doing. So I think it's wonderful that we have a week that we set aside for them. So at this time, if Teresa and Vanessa and and Jason, I didn't see you back there, Jason and HG will come forward. Chief Bill and Mr. Dan will come right on up. Come right on up. We gotta get you on camera. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thanks, Jason. Okay, we will move on to item 6, which is our consent agenda. And our consent agenda are items that are determined by the town manager to be routine and don't necessarily need discussion. But if there's an item that a council member would like to pull off and vote on individually, we can do that. I do always like to read the consent agenda. Holy Hannah, there's a bunch tonight, isn't there? So, okay. We'll get started. Approval of the terms of and authorization for the mayor to execute a renewal contract with Kirkland's Pest Control relative to pest control service. Approval and authorization for the mayor to execute a renewal contract with Red Wing Shoes relative to safety footwear. Approval of the terms of and authorization for the mayor to execute a contract with Diversified Inspections relative to the fire department ground ladder and aerial device testing. D, approval of the terms of and authorization for the mayor to execute a contract with Pi Barker relative to the fire department fire extinguisher service. E, approval of the terms of and authorization for the mayor to execute the Tennessee Department of Agriculture lease agreement and memo of understanding relative to the fire department brush truck lease. F, approval of the terms of and authorization for the mayor to execute a renewal contract with Anderson Yards relative to mowing for the building safety department. G, approval of the terms of and authorization for the mayor to execute a contract with the Tennessee Department of Transportation relative to the right-of-way maintenance of state highways. H, approval of the terms of and authorization for the mayor to execute a renewal contract with Sweeping Corporations of America relative to the street sweeping. I, approval of the terms of and authorization for the mayor to execute a renewal contract with Rollins Excavating Company, LLC relative to the concrete work for Public Works Department. J, approval of the terms of and authorization for the mayor to execute a contract with Hawkins relative to the water treatment plant for citric acid 50%. K, approval of the terms of and authorization for the mayor to execute a renewal contract with J&B Tanker Incorporated relative to the lime sludge removal from lagoons at the water treatment plant. L, approval of the terms of and authorization for the mayor to execute a renewal contract with Bush Construction relative to installation of the gas mains and services. M, approval of the terms of and authorization for the mayor to execute a renewal contract with Dan Weaver Service relative to the water leak survey. N, approval of the terms of and authorization for the mayor to execute a contract with American Development Corporation for water treatment plant sodium orthophosphate Aquamag. O, approval of the terms of and authorization for the mayor to execute contracts with the following relative to gas, water, and sewer materials: Water and Sewer, Core and Main, National Meter Automation, Southern Pipe, Hayes Pipe, GNC Supply, and Fortiline. Gas, Carotest, Equipment Controls, GNC Supply, Honeywell Elster, American Meter, Honeywell Mercury Instruments, CGS, and Experitech. P, approval of the terms of and authorization for the mayor to execute a performance agreement with Bad Dog Band Styles Sound relative to the music for the Food Trucks and Fun event at the Event Center. Q, approval of the terms of and authorization for the mayor to execute a renewal contract with Golf Now relative to the golf course tee time reservation system and software. And R, approval of the terms of and authorization for the mayor to execute a contract with Fuel Master relative to gasoline tank maintenance. I think that's all of the consent agenda. Anyone have one they'd like to pull off and talk about individually? Seeing none, do I have a motion?
Motion that we approve the consent agenda as read.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes for the consent agenda. We'll now move on to old business. We have 3 public hearings tonight. The first public hearing is consideration of an ordinance relative to the rezoning of properties located on tax map 270 Group C, parcels 1.00, 2.00, and 4.00, containing approximately 1.06 acres. It's requested by Howard Spain to go from P&O 1 to C, is that P&O I, to C4. Properties are located at 409, 413, and 415 Indian Springs Road East, and this is a second reading.
Yes, Mayor and Council, this is a request. It's 3 separate tracts of land, all about a third of an acre. There are existing houses on each parcel. They're on Indian Springs, directly across from Cobblestone Lane, where it intersects Indian Springs. Land use plan for the area would support an office, retail, multifamily, residential mix. Surrounding zoning is R2, R6, PO1, C2, and C4. The Planning Commission did review this and did recommend it unanimously, and nothing has changed since you all looked at this on the first reading.
Council, do you have any questions for Kevin before we open it up for the public hearing, or any comments? Okay. Then do we have anyone here from the public that would like to speak for or against this item? Seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing and go to the council for a motion.
I move we approve.
A motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Our next public hearing is consideration of an ordinance adopting the budget for the fiscal year 2018-2019, and this is a second reading. Rex?
I'll take the first part of it, Rick. With respect to our meetings, Jeff and I, Jeff came to me today, and we have an adjustment to the budget presented at the workshop. In our initial budget regarding employee salaries, we were not anticipating a need to include a market adjustment in addition to our existing merit plan. However, after review of several of the local municipalities that Jeff's been working on, which I appreciate, he's come back to say it would be wise and prudent on our part to add an additional 1.5% market adjustment to all employees in addition to the existing merit plan. So we want to maintain a competitive compensation package with other municipalities so we can hang on our great employees we have. And we're recommending that you do that, and if there are subsequent questions, Jeff and Rex can answer those, but we're all 3 of us proud to make that recommendation to you. Rex? Any questions for Rex or?
What will that total amount be?
Salaries and benefits, amongst all the funds, $389,870. Still leaves us with the surplus in the general fund, all of our funds, except for the stormwater fund, and that's because we have so many capital projects. But that will still leave us more than a $2.1 million fund balance in stormwater, though.
I appreciate, and I would say the rest of the council does as well, you all bring in this. One of the things that we always want to make sure we do is stay competitive for our employees and that we take care of them. So I appreciate y'all
And the
continuing to
revised
monitor
budget
that.
is in your Dropbox.
Okay. Questions for Rex?
Not a question, just a comment. I absolutely think it's the right thing to do, and sometimes, in other municipalities are our competitors for our employees, and we have good employees, they're well-trained, and then attrition takes place. They'd rather go where they can receive more compensation, and it costs us as much or more sometimes to bring somebody in and retrain them and bring them up to the skill set that our employees are having that would leave. So I think it's the right thing to do, and I support it.
Yep, I want to say thanks, Jeff and Harry, for continuing to do this annually. I know that the last 2 budgets that I've been in, there have been adjustments for appropriate areas where there's been a gap found. So I appreciate you doing that and keeping an eye on that. I'm more than happy to agree to bring this forward, even if it is a little at the end of the process. I think it's definitely a needed and warranted thing. I do want to point out, and Rex, you can probably talk to it, this is 1.5% in and above any rated merit increases for these
Yes,
same employees.
cost of living.
This is above that.
Anything else? Okay, then we will go to the public to see if there's anyone here to speak for or against this item. Seeing no one, we will close the public hearing and go to the council for approval of the adoption of the budget for for the fiscal year 2018-2019.
So moved, Mayor.
A motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second, any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Budget passes. Item C is consideration of an ordinance adopting the property tax rate for the fiscal year 2018-2019. This also is a second reading, Rex.
Yes, ma'am. The tax rate ordinance establishes the property tax rate for the fiscal year 18 and 19. Our recommendation is to adopt the certified tax rate since this is a reappraisal year. The certified tax rate is 70.07 cents. That's a revenue neutral concept in total. The town should receive around $10.5 million in revenue this year. That means with this concept that we'll get about $10.5 million next year. However, individuals could, tax could be the same. It could be lower. It could be a little higher depending on the increase in the appraised value. And there's a link on our website that goes into more detail explaining the certified tax rate.
Questions for Rex on this?
Rex, will you just go into the revenue neutral aspect of this? Just explain it one more time.
Revenue neutral. For the tax year that we're in, we think we're going to have $10.5 million. The state and the assessor's office go through a process where they do the appraisal, but they lower the tax rate. Well, in our instance, it lowered because we were at 0.884 cents, and now we're at 70.07 cents per $100 of assessed value. So it just depends. And this year we should come out around 10.5 million on existing properties. Now for the new customers, new taxpayers, they'll be assessed at a new rate. So we should have $10.5 million in 19 for our existing customers.
Questions or comments for Rex?
You know, it's my understanding that some municipalities aren't looking at revenue neutral. They're looking at, continuing where they're at, which would be, in effect, an increase. And I'm proud that, through our financial policies and procedures and our budgeting and whatnot, we are able to keep this revenue neutral for our folks here.
Great.
Thank you.
Anything else? Then we will go to the public to see if there's anyone here to speak for or against this tax rate. Seeing no one, we will close this public hearing and go to the council for a motion.
Move to approve.
We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Tax rate of 70.07 cents passes. Under new business, we have one item under the Planning Commission report. It is a consideration of an ordinance relative to the amendment of the previously approved PRD for property located on tax map 33, parcel 58.01, containing approximately 33.44 acres requested by Green Tree LLC. The property is located south of Ryan Hill Drive and east of Hendricks Hill Drive. It's adjacent to the Green Tree, Mountain Brook, and Summer Ridge subdivisions, and this is a first reading.
Yes, Mayor and Council, this is an existing PRD that was approved 10, 11 years ago, something like that. It was previously approved. It's called the Colony at Green Tree. It was approved for a single-family subdivision up to 130 lots, and with various types of houses that were proposed and different things. The amendment would reduce that number from 130 lots to 11 lots. It would just be called Colony Estates. 8 of those lots would be accessed off of a private road extension of Ryan Hill Drive. And then three of them would be accessed off of Skinner Drive on the southwest corner of the property, and that would be a public street there. The fire department did express some concern regarding some of the driveways that would be extending into those 8 lots off the private drive. There are some significant topographic changes on this property, and some of those were going to be fairly steep. The developer's representative did agree that to address that concern with construction plans, so that to address those concerns at that time, so that the fire department would be able to access these homes that will be quite a bit off of the roadway. They also did submit a revised pattern book, which I did include with the agenda summary. The Planning Commission did recommend approval of this request unanimously.
Mark or Tim, anything you want to add?
I think Kevin just hit on the one concern that we mostly had was about fire department and their ability to access these properties. These are, we like the fact that the density is changing from 133 lots down to 11 lots. We really like that a lot, and they're estate lots, but we want to be sure they're safe. So as long as the chiefs had a chance to look that over and work with the developer, then we felt that it was a good trade-off.
So that was included in the comments?
Yes,
Yes, that's part of the approval, yes.
Other questions for Kevin? Comments?
No, just to kind of tag on, I mean, part of our discussion was if it remained where it was at, there were going to be a lot of challenges from constructing and maintaining roads with the changes in elevation, because they're pretty severe. And again, you know, to kind of echo what Mark said, you know, we're going down in density, and I'm confident between Kevin and the chief, we can work out any concerns as far as access and ability to reach the homes here.
Okay.
I do have a question.
Sure.
So are they tying into both these roads, Skinner Drive and what's that,
Ryan Hill, yes. Skinner Drive will be extended on the southwest corner, basically just cul-de-sac with 3 lots
Okay.
off of it. And then Ryan Hill would be the other 8 lots. It would be extended from where it currently dead ends and to basically have a gate across it with a private road.
Okay.
Something similar to what the gentleman is wanting to do off of Cook's Lane that we looked at a few months ago. And basically you would just then access the 8 lots would then be off of that road.
Okay.
And it would be extend south and loop around and provide access to the 8 lots.
Okay.
192 on your thing, on that shows it.
One of the other things we talked about was the need for an HOA in there to make sure that that private road was
Sure. Yeah. And
taken
care of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, Kevin, I remember the drawing, as you come in, there was a circle.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I don't have it pulled up, she does. And it appeared that it met all the radius turns for our fire equipment.
Right.
Is that correct? Okay.
Yeah.
Other questions or comments? Then do I have a motion?
I'll move we approve.
The motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Packaged Liquor Board report, consideration of an application for certificate of compliance for a packaged liquor store from Kong Yan Ni, Spirits of Nissan Drive, located at 830 Nissan Drive. Jeff?
Yes, Mayor and Council. Basically, the liquor store is currently, packaged liquor store is currently at 830 Nissan Drive. This is a change of ownership, and because of such, they appeared before the Packaged Liquor Board in June and are requesting a certificate of compliance. They did meet all of the requirements set forth by the ordinance.
Okay. Questions for Jeff on this? Then do I have a motion?
I'll move we approve.
A motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second, any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item C is consideration of a resolution to amend and restate the Town of Smyrna classification and compensation plan. Jeff?
Sure. Mayor, Council, what you've got in front of you is our revised classification and compensation plan for this next fiscal year. It does take into consideration the 1.5% that you guys discussed a few minutes ago. So it is just the revised pay grades for all the job titles that we have here in the city for your consideration.
Questions for Jeff on this? Jeff, I know you always put a lot of work into looking over those things, and we really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Then, do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item D is approval of the terms of and authorization for the mayor to execute an employment agreement with Brian Hercules as the Smyrna Town Manager. Jeff?
Yes, Mayor and Council, as you're well aware, in May, the council made an offer of employment, voted to make an offer of conditional offer of employment to Brian Hercules for town manager. He successfully came out of the background, as we suspected he would. And this is the...
He came out of the background?
Came out of it. That's a good way to put it. He survived it. So this is the employment agreement that is offered to this position by charter. And you have the relative portions there before you, and we've discussed those at length.
Any questions for Jeff on this? It's been a long process to get to this point, but I think one that we've done our due diligence on, and one that I am happy to move forward with, and I think each one of you all are as well. So with that said, do we have a motion?
Motion that we approve.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Mr. Hercules, would you like to come up and say anything?
Mayor and Council, you'll find that I'm typically a very shy person, but I do appreciate the opportunity. I just wanted to share with you that we're very humbled by this opportunity, very excited about the opportunity to come and be part of this team, to backfill Mr. Gill's shoes, and the team he's built and work with those people in the different departments is just going to be an honor for us. And I say us because if you'll notice sitting beside me, and I shared with you during the interview process, I have a team, and that's my wife and I. We've purchased a home here in Smyrna. We're in the process of making the move. And I just want to say very briefly, over the last couple of weeks, I had the opportunity to come down and be at Simply Smyrna. I had the opportunity to be, as you can tell from my forehead, at the Jeff Coos Memorial this weekend. And my wife, she's my greatest supporter. And as we got in the car and went home, she talked about what a wonderful experience has been just in the last couple of weeks to be with the people of Smyrna, be with the staff in Smyrna, and see what a wonderful opportunity exists here. And again, we're just very humbled to be part of and look forward to being part of this team going forward.
Great.
Thank you.
We are excited that you're going to be joining the team. I will tell you, you had so many pluses in your column, but the one thing that we as a council kept hearing the day in the interview was team, working with the employees, that the employees are our greatest asset, and that's something each one of us feel as well. So we look forward to you coming on board. Anything else from anybody? Okay. Then we will move on to item E, which is consideration of a resolution announcing a vacancy for one town council member. Jeff?
Yes, Mayor and Council, Councilwoman North resigned at the council workshop, and per the charter, the town must put forth a resolution that states that there is a vacancy. And this resolution, that's all this resolution does, it just states that there is a vacancy.
Okay. Can you talk a little bit, before we move into this, which the vote doesn't have anything to do with what I'm getting to ask you, but can you talk a little bit about, just so the public understands, what our options are between now and November?
Sure. You basically have two options. One, you because we are close to the election. We're within a year of a general election, which will be upcoming in November, that you can leave it unfilled until that time, or you may appoint. The council may collectively, the remaining members may appoint someone to serve until that time. Obviously, whoever, if you do appoint, that person will run for office for that position as well.
If we choose to appoint, when would be the earliest and what is that process?
If you're going to appoint, it just, as we do with any agenda, we'll just give notice, give proper notice, which would be, we'd probably place it on the workshop, and then we could do it next month if you chose to do so.
Okay. And then that individual would then start the next month?
Correct.
Okay. Any other questions of Jeff on the process? Okay. So do I have a motion for the consideration of a resolution announcing a vacancy for one town council member?
So moved.
A motion, do we have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second, any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay, next we have an appointment of 2 members to the Board of Directors of the Linebaugh Public Library to serve a 3-year term. There were changes to the Tennessee Code annotated, and we are now going to be appointing library board members from, council will be appointing those individuals to serve 3-year terms. So we did have 3 individuals who had put in. We have Lynn Alexander, Laurie Waldron, and Joe Anthony Bynum. I'd like to throw out a suggestion. I think this board is a really important board, and I think it's one that is so important to our community, and I'd like for us to consider putting a council member as one of our appointees. And I talked to Jeff, and Jeff said there is no problem in us doing that. So how do you all feel about that?
I think it is an important board. This is one of the organizations that we have a line item in our budget every year for, and there's always a need for additional funds or not. I think it's important, if we're going to be giving taxpayer dollars to an organization, that the council maybe is definitely involved in how that money's being spent and what's going on. So I think it's a good move.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I would agree.
Okay. Anybody want to volunteer?
You know what? Steve spoke so eloquently about it just a moment ago.
That's how it starts, right there.
Carry that over. And he built a strong case for it, so I would like to nominate Steve Sullivan.
Okay, so we need to nominate a second person as well, and we have Lynn Alexander, Laurie Waldron, or Joe Anthony Bynum. So the floor is open for nominations. We have one nomination in Steve Sullivan. Do we have any other nominations? Come on, guys, we got to have one more.
I'll nominate Lynn Alexander.
Okay, so anyone else? Then I will close the floor to nominations, and since we only had 2 individuals and we have 2 appointments to make, all in favor of Lynn Alexander and Steve Sullivan serving on the Linebaugh Board of Directors, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Congratulations, Steve and Lynn. Next, we have an appointment of 1 member to the Packaged Liquor Board to serve an unexpired term ending in 2019. And we have 4 individuals who have applied for the Packaged Liquor Board: Thomas Booker, David Newbern, Abhi Patra, and Kedrick Rutz. And I will tell you that Abhi is already serving on stormwater. I know sometimes we like to spread the wealth around in regards to individuals serving. So I will open the floor for nominations for 1 member to the Packaged Liquor Board to serve the unexpired term ending in 19.
I'd like to nominate Thomas Booker.
Any other nominations? And we will close the floor to nominations, and since we only have 1 individual that was nominated and we have 1 to fill, All in favor of Thomas Booker, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Congratulations, Thomas. Under,
Hold on, Mayor. Ms. Diane thinks that Thomas.
Thomas Booker is already on.
He's already
He was
on
at the
there,
last
yeah.
meeting.
okay, thanks, Miss Diane.
I'd like to withdraw my nomination.
Okay, so we now have,
I'm not saying anything.
so we now have 3 individuals, David Newbern, Abby Patra, and Kedrick Rutz, to fill 1 spot for the packaged liquor. I will open the floor for nominations. Do I need to do anything different since we
No,
can't do
fine.
him? Okay.
You need a nomination?
I need a nomination. David Newbern, Abby Patra, or Kedrick Rutz?
How about Mr. Newburn?
Mr. Newbern. David Newbern. Any other nominations? Then we will close the floor to nominations. And David Newbern, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? He's not on there already, is he, Miss Diane?
No.
Thank you. Okay.
Thomas is going to train him well.
Okay. Under other, we have we may have 2 items. The first item is the emergency purchase. Are we putting that under other? Okay, is that the one we want to do first?
Which one is that?
The emergency purchase for ladder 1 engine. The fire department would like to make council aware that an emergency purchase was made to replace engine in ladder 1. The purchase will not exceed $54,000. And I'm assuming we need to vote on that, Jeff?
Yes.
Okay. Any questions for Chief or Mr. Gill? Then do I have y'all looking, is there something?
Chief, apparently the motor blew up. huh?
Move right along there, Mayor.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
I move to approve.
A motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay, we'll now move on to other approval of the terms of and authorization for the mayor to execute a contract extension with the Tennessee Department of Transportation relative to the Jefferson Springs Greenway project.
Yeah, I didn't see
We also had something on Olive Branch, I think, that fell before that.
It's not on mine. I mean, we can do it, it's just not on my agenda item.
Yeah, I didn't see it.
Well, it wasn't
We
an
just bring
agenda
it.
item, we added it under other, if you recall.
I'm under other.
I'm saying we added it, we
Okay.
verbally added, yeah, we just didn't place
We're
it on
doing,
there.
okay, so we'll do that one after this.
Okay.
Approval of the terms of and authorization for the mayor to execute a contract extension with the Tennessee Department of Transportation relative to the Jefferson Springs Greenway project. Jimmy?
Mayor and council, thank you. This is just a contract renewal. The current contract expires December 31st of this year. We issued a notice to proceed April 2nd to start that Greenway project, and the completion date deadline is March 20th, 2019. And so with getting with TDOT, they want to extend that until December 31st, 2019 for 1 more calendar year.
Okay. Questions for Jimmy on this?
Jimmy, when you guys do this, would you go ahead and do the highway too while you're over there?
Any other questions for Jimmy? Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion that we approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. And I think our last item under other is the olive branch.
Yes. My apologies if the mayor didn't know that and others. You know, when I came on, and long before that, I've heard that we needed to expand our infrastructure, in particular at Olive Branch. Olive Branch is a basin that someday will probably accommodate up to 4,000 houses, many of which are about to begin. Having said that, we spent the last 6 months trying to work out a deal with a couple developers to help fund that project and reimburse them through time, and unfortunately it didn't pan out. But from our perspective, it is absolutely crucial that we get sewer in the ground out there. In particular, knowing that in 2 years' time, there's probably 400 plus houses that will be developed in one subdivision. There's another area that's got up to 700 houses that'll probably start developing, I don't know, 50, 60, 70 houses a year. Another parcel's been purchased that will result in the building of many, many, many homes as well. We've done a very good job building our enterprise fund up. We can pay cash for the project, which is one of the perks of doing that. We can also, I don't want to steal Mr. Strange's thunder, but there are many other perks as a result of putting this in the ground. I want to say that Mr. Strange, Mr. Gaither, Mr. Kevin Rigsby, and Jeff Peach and I have worked on this for months, and we're all in unanimity think that this has got to be done. So we're hoping to gain your support on this tonight. Michael, why don't you add your spiel?
Certainly. First of all, I think this is just a good business decision for the town. Okay, we're expanding the wastewater plant. We need to add additional customers there to help offset the cost of that. This is a great way to do that. Another thing, the Woodmont lift station that basically serves that entire area. Anything that's developed out there has to have its own lift station. It's sent to Woodmont. Woodmont pumps it over the hill to Rock Springs. That station is basically at capacity, as are the gravity lines going over the hill. Woodmont was never meant to be a permanent station. It's been there 5 years or so. At capacity, meaning it has to be upgraded. The lines going over the hill, the gravity lines feeding down to Rock Springs have to be upgraded, which means construction in the road on Montgomery Way. Let's see, lift stations. We're trying to get away from lift stations. They cost a lot of money to maintain. Personnel also. We added an additional person in last fiscal year's budget to help us maintain lift stations, and if we continue to add them, we will be asking for more personnel in the future just to put on lift stations. They specifically don't do operations at the plant. They're just working on the lift station. So, you know, a lot of those benefits like that come along. Again, this is just a smart business decision for the town. This is what I call a win-win. You know, it helps keep our rates low. It helps offset costs for the plant expansion, things like that.
Questions?
Mike, you mentioned about the cost to maintain a lift station. What are we looking at as far as, and let's go outside of just the personnel to do so?
I looked at the last 5 years, and over the last 5 years, we have spent about $300,000 on maintaining lift stations, and that does not include labor.
Over the 5 years?
Over the 5-year span, yes.
State revolving fund. Have we talked to Emily?
I did talk to Emily. State revolving fund loan does not look great for this project. The reason is they are very limited right now on their clean water funds. Be a shot in the dark. It's possible, but not likely.
When is their next? When does it open up again? I forget what those
We
dates
could go
are.
ahead and apply now. It's coming up fairly soon. We need to make a decision if we want to spend that additional money to get everything ready, the facilities plans, all that stuff, to be able to apply. But based on what she told me, the odds are not good at all on getting SRF funding for this project.
Quick timeline on how we proceed.
Certainly. The way the timeline works, and obviously Jerome Dempsey would be doing the engineering design. What'll happen is we'll have to start and walk the area and flag it for the surveyor. Surveyor will come in, take him about 30 days or so to get the survey, return that back to Jerome about in another 30 days. Design will take about 90 days. Once design's complete, then the easements and descriptions and exhibit will be sent to Mr. Peach's office for acquisition and appraisals. That's probably another 90 to 120 days. Once that's done, we will be ready to go out and bid for construction. You're probably looking at spring or early summer of 2019 before we bid for construction. On construction, if you do it as one whole project, you're probably looking at somewhere in the neighborhood of 18 months. We've also talked to Jerome about there's the potential that we could divide this up into 3 areas and actually have 3 different contractors working on the 3 areas at the same time to shorten the time frame, or one contractor with multiple crews, however that shakes out, but we would have to cross that bridge when we got there, obviously.
So what you're asking us to approve tonight is just the authorization to move forward with the plan that you just laid out. We would still have opportunities to vote on the pricing, the cost, et cetera, as it moves forward.
Absolutely. We would have to go out to bid for construction, and then that would be brought back to council for approval.
We actually have budgeted money for design already in anticipation that we'd have gotten to this point. We thought the other
Yeah, if the plan had
negotiations-
moved forward, we would have still done this
Yes, sir.
plan and design,
Yeah.
right? Correct.
How long will it take? I heard Mr. Gill mention some development that's looking out in that area already. What kind of time frame are we looking at to get our return back out of that development?
We will be asking for a special assessment district in this area that is in line with the market, with Murfreesboro. You're looking at a payback of approximately 1,300 homes.
In today's market, if the market doesn't change?
Building 200 homes a year, you're looking at a little over 6 years.
Right.
Of course, the flip side of that, Vice Mayor, is that, we'll be eliminating those pump station costs, the additional personnel. What else, Mike?
Well, we'll be able to eliminate probably 4 lift stations. Woodmont right off the bat, 3 others that are in that area in pretty short order. So that,
Will we be able to complete this project before or in time for the development that's being planned to continue to move forward, or will they start building before we're finished?
Well,
we're going to do our best.
Well, he talked to me. Mike Hollins had pulled it off the planning the other night, pursuant to my request to see if we got approval on this, and he said he would delay as best possible to tie into the line, and he anticipated. I think he said he would start in January, but he said it's probably going to be 2.5 years before he's ready to go anyway, and hopefully we could be there then. That's our goal.
This is totally a city project. We don't have, TDOT won't be having to approve
correct.
these, correct? Okay.
The trunk lines which you tie into, they're of sufficient size to handle the capacity that's going to be discharged here?
Yes, I had a drawing. I thought it was going to be on the board, but it's not, so sorry. Yes, behind the warehouses, right across from Courier Place, there's a 24-inch line right there. So we would be tying in right there.
But it still eventually comes down to Meadowbrook and then to Enid Springs.
It does. Everything hits Meadowbrook from there.
Okay, I've got to ask this question again, and I think I've asked before, but I'm still bothered by it, is that in times past, we have been presented with different ideas and aspects on how the trunk line that goes from Enid Springs here, or actually from Meadowbrook to Enid Springs to the plant, needed to be upgraded. And it was kicked around as to whether to take it through the backyards on Brookhaven, and finally they decided, well, okay, it needs to go down the middle of the road in Brookhaven. And of course now I don't hear anything about that, and I'm kind of disturbed.
Okay. I wasn't here then.
I understand.
My opinion is when we get this thing done, and of course, now remember, Linwood hits this also. Everything from that side of town hits Meadowbrook. My opinion would be we start working on a project to get rid of the Meadowbrook lift station and gravity to the plant.
Okay. So what you're saying is you would actually junction in a different manner to get to the plant rather than bring it down here again?
Instead of being a force main from Meadowbrook, we would eliminate Meadowbrook altogether and go gravity in the plant. That is at the end of the 5-year plan that we submitted.
Okay.
We'll start working on that.
So essentially what we're
kinda
talking about
stair-stepping.
is not just this, but also looking at it from a bigger,
yes, sir,
more
big picture.
long-range plan.
Certainly.
Okay, the rest of my questions have to deal with, and I don't know if you can use this term with this type of situation, but a holistic approach to it all. Not only looking at the sewer, but also looking at the roads that Mr. Rose is going to be concerned with back there. And from there, I guess what bothers me about it is that people have this idea that we annex property to get the money off of it. But, I mean, we all have learned over the years that growth is not going to pay for itself. Even with impact fees, with taxes and everything, growth is not going to pay for itself. So what we have associated with this sewer is, of course, as Mr. Gill has mentioned over and over, many, many houses, which are all associated with many, many cars. And we're still in, I mean, out in that area. I used to live out in that area, and I still believe that originally those roads were buffalo trails, and then the Indians started walking on them, and you know, it just worked its way up till now we're driving essentially on the old buffalo trails, and they're not always the best way to move all of the people in and out of there. You know, we just got to look at it from an aspect of what is the overall impact of it, not just, you know, what's the sewer going to do to this area, but what are all the people going to do to all this area, what are the cars going to do to all this area, and then how it ties into the rest of our roads and existing routes to the interstate, which is a big thing for us. You know, we hear conversations about people sitting at stop signs for long periods of time, or places where there are not stop signs for long periods of time, and that they would like to see something done with their roads. So I don't know what the solution's going to be, but I just would like to see it looked at as a whole.
Well, and to kind of answer your question, in the Olive Branch Basin, I think the way the economy is and the way the market is right now, you're going to grow anyway. Maybe not to the extent you would with gravity, but what's going to happen is these properties are still going to develop. You're going to have a lift station on that property that's going to pump it to Woodmont, so all you're doing is adding additional lift stations, additional maintenance, odor, additional personnel.
That's not necessarily true, because we don't have to annex the property. We don't have to let them tie on to where the lift station is.
That is true.
I mean, those are options that are available to us. Of course, we don't want to stifle the growth. I don't think that anybody on the council wants to do anything like that. But still, by the same token, we don't want to have to pay the whole bill either. And of course, you know, that's what we're talking about, is this one does have a serious return on investment. But by the same token, it is still, there are other ancillary costs that are not actually included in the cost of the sewer. And that's the point I want to make.
Sure. Well, and again, you know, you're right. We don't have to provide sewer there. However, with expanding the plan at that cost, we need more customers. We need it to offset some of that cost as best we can. Well, obviously, we'd never offset it all, but, you know, as best we can, we need to do that.
Mike, how does Linwood tie into all this? Because we've been waiting on Linwood for...
The last time I spoke to Linwood, they were still evaluating the market, and I made the statement.
They're going to miss it if they keep evaluating,
well,
you know what I mean?
I made the statement, I don't understand what you guys are doing because the market can't get any better here, and he said, you have to understand, we're all over the place. So obviously there's a better opportunity, or they were involved in something where they can make more money probably somewhere else at the time. So,
would any of this expense be their expense otherwise?
No, because it wouldn't hit Woodmont.
Okay.
Linwood would go directly to Meadowbrook.
Linwood would tie in essentially at the same place next to the interstate there.
Yes.
And then follow itself too.
Yes.
In looking at the project, did y'all look at roads as well?
Well, I think that, you know, it's a fair question. We met with Gresham Smith again today, and the Rock Springs corridor study was brought up. And I think, you know, they'll need to build as part of the solution how we address this corridor as well. And they're about on it, aren't they, Tom? And I think we're in a position, if we need to expand it to other areas out there, that we can do that. But as it now stands, they're going to come back with some recommendations for us.
Just for posterity's sake, this drainage basin we're talking about is essentially Rocky Fork and Lee Road area.
Yeah.
To the backside of Rock Springs.
Right. But Woodmont empties onto Rock Springs, and you know, that's kind of the conduit or the artery that a lot of people use. They'll end up going through Lee Road and on through Woodmont, I think. And which means you'll get more calls from Woodmont folks about people speeding through the neighborhoods. But
HG, I do agree with the holistic approach and looking at kind of everything. So I would like to see us look at doing a corridor study to add additional
Yeah, I
that
think
whole
would do
area.
good. Sure.
Not just the Rock Springs, but the Rocky Fork, the Lee
Correct.
Road, all of that area.
All
What-
of that.
What is the
Whereas-
overall impact?
We've been talking about Rock Springs now for a good while. Mr. Gill, I know I kind of challenged you to look at that some months ago because of the, we've got the farm out there that eventually is going to develop. It's just getting bigger and bigger out that way. And if we don't do something to improve that road out there or get some help to improve that road out there, we're going to have a pretty big
Absolutely.
issue.
I agree. And again, Gresham started on it.
Yeah, and they've got to look 2-3 years down the road, right? You're talking about potentially 6 years return on investment. So a corridor study now that's only 2 or 3 years out, we'd have to do another one.
Right.
So we need the, not just the holistic approach for what we know about now, but what land is sitting there undeveloped that most likely will develop, and try to plan as far as advanced as we can without spending
I think
$40 million.
inventory of the property
I
within the
agree.
basin is
I agree.
I
important.
think, Kevin, were you the one that came up with a number of 4,000 houses in that basin?
Honestly, I don't know if that was me or if that was something that.
Mark Parker,
Okay.
and I think he
Do we
talked.
think that's the max?
Available property in that area.
Buildable.
With the acreage tracts and assuming a certain density of homes per acre kind of thing. So that's an assumption certainly. It's a lot. And that could be 4,000 houses. That happens over a 7-year period, obviously.
I guess my observation with planning is that we continue to see growth here, and we can continue to see a willingness to, install the lift systems to get there. And I guess, I'm concerned about it from a long-term perspective if we don't approach this from a gravity flow. Especially if we've got 4,000 houses that have potential to come in here. I haven't seen it stop anything yet.
Are you all comfortable moving forward tonight, or would you be more comfortable waiting until the workshop and have more questions? You all tell me what you want to do.
From everything that I'm hearing, it really sounds like it's not a matter of if, but when. And since they're only asking to move forward with the plan and to move forward with, I guess, the overall design, I'm okay with moving forward now, understanding that we're going to have plenty of other opportunities to vote on this solution as it comes down the pike, especially when we start talking about spending money.
But is the design just for this portion? And that's what, one of the things we were just discussing is, are we looking at 2 years down the road versus 5 years and taking that into consideration, or just this small portion for the plan? When you say plan, are you just saying the part that they want to focus on now?
My understanding is that they're looking at the upgrades, Mike, that you're talking about doing. I guess to answer Raquel's question or statement, is it going to account potentially the 4,000 homes we think we may have in the next 10 years? Or is this a 1,000-home solution and we got another 3,000 to figure out later?
No, sir, this Olive Branch all of the entire basin would hit Olive Branch.
And the upgrades that you're looking at planning would handle all of that in the long term?
Yes, well, the map's behind you, but as
We've
you
got
can
it behind you.
see the red down through there. To reach some of that farther corner now, the next guy would have to pick it up and take it along as they develop, just like we normally do everywhere else. But ultimately, everything in that green and the purple will flow to Olive Branch.
I guess
So
my question at this point is, since we don't have documentation on this, how is this motion styled? Who's going to craft the motion, and how is it actually going to read?
Yeah, that was that's why I asked to start with what are we actually voting on, because I know, Harry, you mentioned that Mayor Esther didn't have it. Other than the email that you sent us earlier last week, that's all we've got in front of us. We don't have anything on the agenda, any documents in the packet. So I'm just going based on what you sent, that it looks like you're asking for permission to just move forward with a plan, but nothing's actually written, so I'm not sure.
well, we've already got for design and right-of-way in the budget for next fiscal year that you guys just approved. That's already in the budget anyway. So I assume move forward with design and right-of-way, which includes the surveying.
Yeah.
Because after that, we would have to bid it out for construction, which we would have to bring back to you guys for approval or obviously denial
So-
if you chose to do so.
So approval to spend budgeted money for the plan and the design.
Yeah, I think that's what we're asking, yes.
But if it's already in the budget, why are we having to reapprove it?
Well, you haven't approved the project or allowing us to pursue any kind of design or any kind of engineering for the process.
How much money was that in the budget, do we know? Right off the top of our head?
Remember right off the top of your head, right? 1.8 million.
I mean, it's somewhat complicated, but we're asking for you to allow us to pursue engineering and design on the project. And at some point, we'll have to come back, from a bid perspective and ask you to appropriate $6 million to do the job.
All the property that we're looking at is
If
all
that's a bid.
currently in this town limits, yes or no?
No.
So how do we address the annexation?
I'm not sure how to answer that question. Maybe Kevin can answer that.
I mean, are we studying something that's not ours yet, is my question.
That's a good question. I don't know the answer to that.
So let me restate then. So it sounds like we have more questions than answers, and I know that we're trying to move forward quickly, but Harry, could we bring something to the workshop with answer to all these questions in writing so that we can then do it there? I'm just not comfortable if we don't know how we're gonna handle annexation, we're not sure exactly what we're voting on. I don't know if I'm comfortable. That's just me personally. I understand we need to move and I don't wanna slow it down, but I would rather wait 2 weeks than make a mistake now at the $1.8 million level. That's my personal opinion.
Kevin.
I'm perfect with that.
Kevin, how would we address the annexation in that case? Because we have to be requested to annex, do we not?
Yeah, I mean, the annexation we handled the same as with or without this project. People would come in and they want to tie onto a sewer line, would have to request annexation.
But what if they don't? That's my question. What if somebody says, I don't care about that sewer, I don't want to tap onto it, it's going to cost me money, I don't want to be annexed? How do we handle that?
How many of the 4,000 homes that we are thinking about are not annexed yet?
Well, I mean, there's one that's got over 400 lots that's in the city already. There are several other tracts that we have talked to the owners and they know they want to be in the city. They're not yet, but if this sewer's there and they develop it, they will want to be in the city. And I think that's the 700 number, I think, that was mentioned. And there's multiple.
Isn't Hollinshead already annexed?
He is in the city already, yeah, that's
I
the
mean, I can't
400
imagine
plus.
sewer being there and then not taking advantage.
No, I agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if there's a scenario
It's
where.
just an
by which-
annexation question because some years ago we were put in a box by people with more power than us that we couldn't go annex property anymore.
Right.
And that's really caused a challenge as we try to grow this way.
Right.
We get our hands slapped. We're not allowed to do it anymore.
But how would a outside, even if they chose not to annex, isn't there an outside sewer rate that they could?
Well, I mean, there is
They could use?
that, but they can't really, the development, the topography of the soils and everything out there is such they really almost have to have sewer to be able to develop. So
Yeah,
I think you're going to
development,
continue to
sure.
get, if you're going to continue to get requests, whether you approve them or not, just like Mr. Cole said, you don't have to approve them just because they ask. You're going to get requests to annex.
Yeah, I understand that. I'm just asking kind of a rhetorical
people out
question
there,
because, we've met more challenges with the new annexation laws than we
Sure.
ever did before with spot zoning and islands and we run into that more and more often now, and it gives us a challenge on, all right, whose road are we annexing in? Is it the county's road? Is it our road? We get into all that because now we don't have a good plan to go out in motion. Everything's being brought into us in pieces.
Right.
Because we just don't have the ability to do that. I agree, anybody that's going to develop is going to have that sewer line. They're going to have to.
And I will say we haven't, from a holistic standpoint, we do have a major thoroughfare plan that we adopted a year and a half ago that does address at least what roads we think, what right-of-ways are going to be needed and roads would need to be approved. We haven't looked at it from the standpoint of, with these 4,000 homes, we're going to have to do X,
And I think
Y,
that's the
Z, or
holistic
whatever.
question that HG and
I mean, I
Maris-
realize that we've drawn some lines and things like that, but I think when we start looking at what the densities are going to be in different areas, that, it's going to have to be evaluated, all together.
Sure.
So do you think it's possible at the workshop you could bring back how many of those lots are already in the city, that are
Sure.
already annexed, so we know how many we're talking there, how many are not, but we think that are possible that they would want to come in? Could we also look at including the traffic study, the corridor study, to include that area? What is the cost to do that? What other things would you all like to see?
I mean,
And exactly
don't
what
like it, it's not
you're-
our deal, but I mean, we've still got to take into account the schools. And then over and above that, I mean, I don't know how the fire department comes into play with the existing fire hall that we've got out there, if it covers that area, or we're gonna have to look at another fire hall in that area also. And all of these things, of course, we need to see how we can get the developers to enter into the plan, so that our existing taxpayers don't have to absorb the whole blow.
Do you all think you're able to do that for the workshop, for the next workshop?
Everybody understand what they're requesting?
Yeah, we can put that together, certainly.
Is there still a factor out there about land that's not annexed that could be still developed in the county, that will still use our roads? And
So certainly that is out there. I think if any developer has sewers available, yeah, there is an added cost. But if you, if you can't develop it, or you develop it at a very low density, that's
I guess I'm
large
thinking,
tracts, you know.
what's the subdivision on Amable that has this large subdivision step system? Is it
Stonewood, there's Stonewood, and then there's another one.
There's another one across the
Clear
street. that's
Creek.
Across
growing,
from
too.
Morton, or Rocky Fork.
Yeah,
That's Clear Creek, yeah.
Yeah.
And the sewer had been available there, they would.
Tanks also, too.
That was a time issue for those guys. I mean, they knew sewer wasn't going to be out there for a good long time.
Yeah, if sewer had been available, they probably would have
If
annexed.
Linwood had
it.
come in and run sewer, I think you'd see at least the Clear Creek development would have gone sewer.
No, but that one in the bend of the road, the sewer was right there. They could have tapped onto it, couldn't they? Mark, the one in the,
I'm sorry.
I don't know the name of the subdivision, but it's in the new one in the bend. They could have tapped onto sewer, could they not?
Talking about Clear Creek there across from.
Yeah.
No, it's stepped because it's too far out.
Sewer wasn't available there. It could have been if the Linwood thing had been done. They could have tied onto that, but it wasn't there, so they couldn't.
Okay, anything else? Okay, then we will have them bring this back to us at the workshop in 2 weeks. Anything else under other? Status reports, anything? Announcements, Miss Diane? Mr. Gill? No. Mr. Peach?
Yes, I actually do. Father's Day coming up. I have an awesome father, so I just wanted to say Happy Father's Day to him early, because I won't be on television next time.
Very good.
Oh, actually, I was going to say the same thing. I second that. You have an awesome father. He is definitely the better liked Peach.
He's a little peachier than you are.
I hear that, not from my mother, but I hear that.
Anything else?
That's it.
Raquel?
Happy Father's Day to all of the fathers that's coming up this weekend. Secondly, we had the art crawl this past Saturday evening, June the 9th. And we had several winners, and if you don't mind, I wanted to read off the winners.
Absolutely.
And they will actually be coming to the July meeting to receive their Citizens Award from you, Mayor, and bringing their pieces to show you which art won. But we had 4 categories. We had the adult category, and there was actually a tie. Adrian Castro and Robin Collada won for the adults. And then high school, we had a tie. Annabeth Creel and Natalie Finch were the winners. And for middle school, Julian Elliott won. And for elementary, Gabe Peebles-Ross won. So.
Great.
And no, I had nothing to do with that.
I saw him at church Sunday, and he told me Mom had nothing to do with it.
I was able to get by, and there was some amazing stuff. I mean, we have some very talented people here in the town of Smyrna. in regards to, do you have more with the art? Because I've got one thing.
Just wanted to say thank you and Britt for coming by because I knew you had already had a long, long day and week. So we appreciate you coming out, and we'd also like to thank Carpe for their assistance, and also the Smyrna Artist Cooperative for being a partner in that event.
Great. I did receive a letter from Oliver Langston. It says, Ms. Reed, I wanted to take time to let you know that I appreciate you and the Smyrna Town Council for giving me the opportunity to be part of the town's effort to grow the arts in Smyrna, and for giving me the opportunity to serve on the Smyrna Arts Commission. This has been an honor and a privilege. Art has always been a part of me and part of my life, and I still have the passion for art. To me, life is art and art is life. I've experienced a very serious illness the past couple of months, an illness that almost beat me. I've improved a lot the last couple of weeks, but I'm still very weak. I don't have the strength and energy that I had before I got ill. It appears that it could be some months before I gain my strength and energy back. Therefore, I'm submitting my resignation as a member of the Smyrna Arts Commission. Being a member of the commission requires the time and effort that I am unable to provide at this time. Thanks for your support of the Smyrna Arts Commission, and of course for supporting the town of Smyrna. Regards, Oliver Langston. So I hate to see Mr. Langston go, but we do understand. So Jeff, could you make sure that we get that on the agenda for the workshop, and then the council meeting to appoint for his spot? I'm not sure when his term ends, but if you are interested in serving on the Arts Commission, you can go online and submit an application.
And obviously, we wish Oliver good health.
Absolutely.
Because he's been a driving force behind that
Since
Arts
the beginning
Commission.
almost,
Since
I
the
think,
beginning.
yes.
Yeah, I don't think he was on it originally, that's when
Yeah.
I was, but he was always a proponent.
Yes, agreed. Raquel, anything else?
Yes, I had one more thing, unless I think maybe you were gonna, not you, but Steve, the announcement regarding the, oh my goodness, my brain is, I'm drawing a blank, about the council payments. Were you gonna address that?
I can, you can.
Okay.
Either way.
Okay, then if you don't mind, I actually would like to say something about that. I have one more thing that I'd like to bring up, and that has to do with a statement that was made last week, at our workshop 2 weeks ago, and it involved there being in the budget that the council had approved to increase the pay to all the council members. And it did not seem at the time appropriate to go and respond to the comments that were made, but I did want to take the time tonight to address that, to say that that actually had not occurred. That was a misstatement, and I did not want citizens to think that we had done something and it was not stated properly. There has not been an increase in the budget for any council members to perform as council members. It has not been on the agenda to change that, and I wanted to clarify and correct that to make sure the citizens know that that was not an accurate statement. So I just wanted to make sure I said something to that effect.
So since she's brought it up, I've got a couple things that I was going to add, so I'll just finish it out so we don't have to do it later.
Okay.
So what I did want to say, and Raquel's absolutely right, everything she said is 100% accurate. I think the councilwoman, Lori North, when she made the comment, I think she was very familiar with our budget process, and in our budget retreat, there was a study that we asked Jeff Craig to perform, and that's what she was referencing. So the numbers that she referenced, the type of increases she was discussing, were all accurately discussed. However, we did not include anything in any vote or any budget to increase those. So to clarify kind of what has happened and where we are and how this would happen if it was going to happen. We were approached, I think actually Mr. Gill was approached by our city court clerk, who had asked us to review all elected officials' pay and compare it to other cities, much like the studies that we do for our employees. I know for a fact that the council and the mayor's pay has not been increased since we became a town manager form of government. So for 18 years, they have been the same. I'm not sure about city court clerk or the judge, but I know that those have not been increased regularly like employees have at all. So Jeff conducted that study. He compared our pay with other cities like ours, approximately 50,000 residents, full-time town manager, part-time mayor, part-time council, court clerks that do general session and traffic, as well as judges that do both. So there were a lot of factors that went into the thought process of what may or may not be needed. Mr. Craig did come back with the results of that study and had some recommendations. It turned out that our pay, council, mayor, and the court clerks definitely were much lower than our counterparts in other cities in Tennessee. I don't think the judges was that far off. I think it was pretty close. From that, we asked Jeff Peach to investigate the process and what would have to happen if we wanted to vote on an increase. We weren't sure if it was something we could just include in the budget, or if it had to be an ordinance change, or did the town charter have to change. We weren't really sure because it's never happened. So we asked Jeff Peach to investigate that. Unfortunately, Ms. North resigned at the town council workshop. Immediately after her resignation, we had already had planned a public hearing or public meeting to discuss the results among some other things that Jeff had come up with. So Ms. North didn't come to that meeting. She resigned and left immediately after the workshop. But we went into that public meeting, and Mr. Peach pretty much informed us that that process is an actual ordinance that would have to change. Even if there had been money added to the budget, that's not the process. That's not how it would work. Although it had not been added. The budget that was voted on in May and the one that was second vote tonight did not and has not included any increases for any elected officials in the town of Smyrna. But Jeff, if you will, real quick, just quickly tell them what the process would be if we had done it or if we were going to do it.
Can I say one thing? I think a lot of people assume we make quite a bit of money. I will tell you, the mayor's pay is $600 a month, and you all make?
We make $400, and that was one of the items. There was $400.
A month. So a lot of people think we make tens of thousands of dollars a month, and that is not the case. So I just wanted people to understand when you're talking about what we actually make.
Well, and then social media being what it is, I won't mention where or how I saw this, but immediately when you take a $400 a month before taxes check, and the study says it should be increased to fit other communities the size of ours, average of about $1,000 a month. That's what the study says. When you look at that, it's easy to take the percentage and make it look like these guys are getting ready to kill it with a raise after 18 years. So I just want to put that out there. Don't believe everything you see and read on social media. Don't buy it. I promise you, I know this bunch up here very, very well, and we're all here to serve the community out of passion for our community. We've all grown up here. This isn't about money, guys. But I will say this, and I don't mind saying it publicly. Everybody at that retreat seemed to think it might be a good concept, including the one that left. So I just want to put that out there because we work hard. We are at events. We are at ribbon cuttings. We are in meetings, and those meetings lead to other meetings and other committees and other boards. And it's not about money, but for me, it's fairness to people, treating them fair just like anybody else wants to be treated in their atmosphere. So we haven't made decisions. That's not what we're here to do. But I would challenge anybody to think that because perhaps the mayor might get a raise to, what would be the number, the proposed number?
I don't even remember what the proposed number was. What was it?
16.
16.
All right.
16.
Because she might get a raise to $1,600 a month. I want to say this. I get to watch this mayor work. And I'm telling you guys, and not because she's sitting right here, she, as well as every council member, our employees, our management, everybody pours their heart and soul into this community. They give it all they got, away from their families many, 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 many times. I'm not up here to advocate whether we're worth more or not. All I want to say is this. She deserves anything that may come forth, as well as my fellow council members, because they work that hard and apply their heart and soul to the growth of this town. You look around, you look at this event last weekend. I can't tell you the hours that were put into this that the public has no clue about whatsoever. And it wasn't just this team of people. It was committee members, board members, meetings. The community poured theirself into it. I say thank you to that. I appreciate everybody that poured their heart and souls into that event, as well as anything and everything that takes place in this town. I don't have to feel like I have to defend the worth of any of these people here or the people that help us in the community. But we're going to do what the community sees fit for us in the right kind of way. I appreciate you guys listening to us being able to explain the differences of what was put out there and what the actual truth is.
Well, and
The last point that I was trying to get to with Jeff, and I think this is very important, is based on our town charter, if we did approve or vote on any pay increase, none of us actually get the benefit of that pay increase. Our charter states that only an elected official who gets reelected actually gets that increase. So if we were to pass an increase, my position in 2020 would get the pay increase. I would have to actually get reelected before I got one more penny. I would continue to make the $400 a month until I was reelected. Same thing with each one of these other folks. So that's the other thing that I think folks maybe don't realize is we can't actually vote ourselves a pay increase. All we can vote is our position of pay increase the next election. And that's very important to understand because there's no guarantee that we would even, if we seek reelection or would get reelected. And so whenever if we come forward with an idea to raise pay, to Mark's point, it's because of the amount of work that goes into this position. And I truly tell you, if it's me or someone else, I don't care who's sitting in this chair, they deserve more money than sometimes we make in a monthly time. My check at the end of the month after taxes and my insurance premium is less than $100 a month. And I can assure you that I put in more than 2 hours a month, 3 hours a
And
month.
that's not why we do it.
Well, and
It's
that's
not,
what I was
but
going to
that's
say.
not why we
If
do it.
somebody wants to run for town council or mayor, we encourage you to. Don't do it for the money. I promise. It is not worth that.
No way.
I promise. But do it for the love of community because that's why each one of us are here. And Raquel and Steve, I appreciate you bringing
Thank
it
you for
up.
bringing it up,
I
Raquel.
think we all felt uncomfortable when she was speaking. We were all caught off guard that she was leaving, and we hate that she's left. She was a great council member, but I'm glad that you corrected some wrongs that were said. So
I can tell you this, man. Since that happened, I've been called, I've been contacted, I've been approached, and 95% of that communication evolved around, I can't believe that's all you guys get paid, and you really are worth a lot more to us. So thank you for those that have called and emailed and texted and encouraged us this week, because sometimes this is thankless, and I don't mind telling you that. Sometimes it is. Our families endure a lot of our time doing this, but we love it, or we wouldn't do it.
You know, most of us at one time or another have spent a whole day working in a concession stand for a nonprofit for no cost. And at the end of the day, you're sweating and you're tired, you're cleaning up, and your buddy looks over and says, "You've done such a good job, I'm gonna double your pay." And it's just not that far removed from it. If anybody thinks we're doing this for the money, I mean, reach on out there, reach on out there.
Jeff,
But-
was there anything you wanted to add?
I think you covered everything, but I can't.
That's peach.
I can't add it. You are correct. It takes two readings as with any other ordinance and a public hearing during the second reading. And as Councilman Sullivan stated, does not go in effect until the next term of whoever is voting at the time.
And if you think we're overpaid, come be with us for a month.
Shadow
I
us.
promise you.
Yes.
Yes, we encourage you to. HD, I think it's your turn.
Are we back to that again? As has been mentioned, the Simply Smyrna was 2 weeks ago. The Captain Coos event was this past weekend, and I'm not going to go into a whole lot of discussion about that because it was such a wonderful event, and I'll let others talk about it. But what impressed me about both events. And as always, our town employees, the different departments, pull together to make these things happen. I'm real proud to take a look at our employees' pay rates, because they deserve every penny that they make. They are dedicated, and they're a can-do bunch. You know, don't hear any of this, no, I can't do that because. It's like, okay, we'll do the best that we can with it. So kudos to all of the employees. Good job. Father's Day. Hug your father. He's not going to be here always. Take advantage of that. That's all I've got. Thank you.
Tim?
Wow. You know, I don't even know where to start or where to begin with the weekend and the activities around Captain Coos. I think, was it Captain Bernanke? He summed it up when he said, all of America needs a little more of Smyrna. Thank you.
Steve?
Couple things. Obviously, as a Marine, as a town councilman, and as a kid that grew up on these streets, I've never been more proud of our town than I was this last weekend. I can't tell you how many times I was teary-eyed. I wipe them away and they'd start back again. So it was a great event. I think it represented who we are as a community, and it shows that we know how to honor heroes when we see one. So I echo everyone's thanks. It was a very hard effort, a very large effort, and a lot of folks deserve a lot of gratitude, and I really appreciate it. My son, his birthday is the 17th, which is also Father's Day. It just so happens that that's his first opportunity to call home since he left for boot camp April 2nd. So I'm expecting a phone call from my son on Father's Day, which I'm very excited about. He is entering the last 3 days of training in Parris Island in boot camp. So I will ask you to remember him in your prayers. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday is the culmination of the training events of Parris Island. It is essentially a 3-day mock war. They will put him through sleep deprivation, food deprivation, mental tiredness, physical tiredness, and then he gets to top it all off with a 9-mile forced hike back to his barracks. It is a very hard event. Lots of Marines, there is about a 10 or 15% failure rate. So lots of folks get to this last point and can't finish. He does get rewarded with his Eagle Globe and Anchor ceremony on Saturday. It makes me very proud to be able to say that my son will be a Marine on Saturday. So, thank you.
We appreciate it. We appreciate you too in your service. You know, we like to make sure that we recognize our branches of the military when we pray up here, and not just on holidays or not just special events, but they really are the reason we're here. They're the reason we're up here getting ready to do this, the freedoms that we enjoy. So I don't want to take a lot of what you may have to say about the weekend. I'm going to leave that to you. I know you have some things to say. But I would like to say this. You know, Friday night we had a banquet with many of the squadron support, the Blue support, and the family, the Coos family support. It was amazing to hear Jeff Coos's mother get up and speak and say, if God had told me that I'd have to give my son back in 32 and a half years, I'd be all right with that. That's what she did. And then to hear Mike Campbell say exactly what Tim said, that, you know, America could use some more Smyrna, Tennessee. That was the crowning moment for a lot of us up here and for your community. That says something about the community of Smyrna, Tennessee, and the fact that we still try to keep the identity of a small town, even though we're talking about, even tonight, 4,000 rooftops that may eventually be out the Olive Branch area. We continue to grow, but our identity, because these people all grew up here, and it's a goal of ours to continue to keep community. I don't care how big we get. We really want to keep the identity of that small town. harder and more challenging to do each and every time we grow, but that's our effort. That's what we want out of our town. So if that's worth a raise, you tell me. I don't know. But here's the thing. Friday night, I told you guys earlier, I get to watch, we have the privilege of working alongside each other, and we get to watch Mayor Reed do her thing. And believe me, she's good at her thing. And so I want to say thank you again. We surprised her and Amber Hobbs and Tiffany Lawson Friday night with a little gift of appreciation from those of us in the town for the time and effort that those three ladies put into putting this whole Captain Coos event together. We all had some parts in that, but nothing like those three ladies that poured themselves, their whole lives into getting this thing done and done right. So for that, I think she's due a round of applause for her efforts, and appreciate it.
I have a couple of announcements, upcoming events. Our food truck and fun Friday, June 15th from 5 to 9 at the Smyrna Event Center. There'll be games, music, and good fun. The Smyrna Farmers Market is every Saturday now through September 15th. It's from 8 to noon at the Smyrna Train Depot area on Front Street. Smyrna Boat Day is Saturday, June the 23rd from 9 to 1 at Jefferson Springs Recreation Area. You can join us for the 11th Annual Boat Day, and it is from 9 to 1. Canoes and kayaks and paddles are provided for free for this event, and if you want to have a boatload of fun while learning the importance of clean water, come join us at Jefferson Springs Recreation Area. Follow the Boat Day signs as you drive east on Jefferson Pike. Academy Sports and Outdoors will give away 2 kayaks at this year's event. One of the biggest things that we have every year is our Independence Day celebration, which will be Tuesday, July the 3rd from 5 to 10. There'll be music, food, and fun activities. It'll be at Lee Victory Recreation Park for the annual Smyrna Independence Day celebration. It's located at 110 Sam Ridley Parkway. Kids can play on inflatables, playgrounds, or take a train ride provided by CNR Railroad. Bring a picnic lunch or buy from the on-site concessions and enjoy live music featuring Second and Vine. Then get ready for one of Smyrna's highlights of the year, the annual fireworks show. The following roads will be closed from 8:45 to 9:45 due to the fireworks show. Sam Ridley at Fitzhugh Boulevard, Sam Ridley at Nolan Drive, and Sam Ridley at Threet Industrial Road. Chief Bill, what time are the fireworks going to go off? 9 o'clock, if we have no incidents, right? Yes, okay. Also want to remind you of Smyrna Barbecue and Blue Jeans, Saturday, June the 16th at the Smyrna Event Center. This is the event that benefits Motlow's third building here in Smyrna. If you are interested in purchasing tickets, you can go online at motlowbarbecue.org to purchase tickets. So we recommend that event as well. We've talked a little bit about the weekend, and I need to apologize to Mr. Gill. On Friday night, I was unaware that you had been instrumental in getting the plane, and I thought it was Amber and Tiffany, and when I got up to speak, I did not recognize you, so I want to humbly apologize that I did not recognize you. It would not have been the event we wanted it to be had you not made sure that Christina and Eric and her sister were here. So all that you did to make that happen, we appreciate. I know you got on the plane and even went down there to pick them up. So I can't tell you how much I apologize and how much we appreciate all you did to make that happen.
I appreciate that, but it's not necessary. Thanks.
Were you the Uber pilot?
He was. He was the Uber.
The navigator.
South.
The Jeff Coos Memorial Weekend, there are almost no words to say about what a wonderful weekend it was. It was a long time in the making. There were hundreds and hundreds of people that helped to make it possible. Friday night was the donor dinner, and to hear the speakers, to hear Hal's song. I'm going to talk to John if you're open to putting that on Channel 3. for some of the background music. It was phenomenal. You and Barbie did a great job. And to hear Janet and Michael, Jeff's parents, and to hear Christina and Eric speak, when we met Janet and Eric on Thursday night, Janet and Michael on Thursday night for dinner, they said they were apprehensive about coming because they didn't know what to expect. And from the very first moment, they walked off the plane and Enterprise had donated a car. And so they get off the plane and they go to the counter, and the girl at Enterprise, when she gave the name, she said, "Oh, I'm so excited to see you. We have been waiting on you." And Janet said that was the experience everywhere they went the entire weekend. Everybody wanted to talk to them. Everybody wanted to tell them that we'd been praying for them. And I don't think they expected that. And they were so overwhelmed with love that the community showed. So for all of you who came out or who watched, or I can't tell you how much we appreciate it. Janet said that she definitely wants this to be a place that she comes back to. She said this may even be the place she comes back to on the anniversary every year, because she felt that much love and compassion from our community. So to each one of you, thank you for what you did to make this weekend special. A couple of items. I would highly recommend you see the memorial in the daytime and the night. It looks like two totally different memorials. I will ask that you respect the memorial. We've already gotten some pictures and some phone calls of people trying to climb on things and throwing things and leaving trash and that sort of thing. Guys, this is our memorial to a real hero. If you're out there and you see something, say something. It's our responsibility to make sure that our citizens respect the honor of the memory of Jeff Coos, and that we keep it up. So I would appreciate it if you see kids climbing on things and that sort of thing. There's a place to do that. It's at the playground, and it's not there at the memorial. So last thing for me, HG, happy birthday. Big day.
You know something?
What?
2 days after I turned 20 years old, my son was born. 3 years later, 5 days before my birthday, my daughter was born. Now, I gave up birthdays that long ago. But
in my household, you don't give up birthdays. Everybody's
So you're still
recognized.
21, right?
No, it was when Heather was born, so I'm about 24.
24, okay. Right.
But thank you, Mary Esther.
You're welcome. Anything else? Daddy, happy Father's Day. Hope you have a wonderful day. Anybody else? Nope. Then we are adjourned.